Democratic Party in turmoil this morning. Just 4 months from Election Day and weeks before the nominating convention, more Democratic lawmakers are abandoning the president. ABC's Selena Wang joins us now from the White House with the latest. Good morning, Selena.
Hey, good morning, Gio. President Biden is trying to stop the bleeding, but panic in the Democratic Party is only spreading. More donors and allies I'm speaking to say the president is in denial about his ability to defeat Donald Trump. This morning, crisis in the Democratic Party deepens. Now a fifth Democratic lawmaker calling for President Biden to drop out of the race. Congresswoman Angie Craig from Minnesota saying, "I do not believe that the president can effectively campaign and win against Donald Trump."
If you notice, when they say these things, listen to what she said.
"I do not believe that the president can effectively campaign and win against Donald Trump."
They said, I don't believe that the president can effectively campaign and win. Nobody is concerned about whether or not he's actually able to effectively do the job. That's the thing that we should really be paying attention to. It's not just whether or not Donald Trump should become president of the United States of America. It's also whether or not we're experiencing the decline at such a rapid pace of a person that has to compete against the superpowers of the world and continue to manage this economy, and he doesn't have the ability to be able to do so. It's not just about effectively, because let me tell you something. These people, they're more concerned about how they're going to be impacted than whether or not the president of the United States of America can effectively do their job. And that's why it says, I don't believe that the president can effectively campaign and win against Donald Trump. Well, we know that. All of us was able to see that during the debate. That's the sentiment that's been raging on for over a week now. The question then becomes whether or not he's even able to stay in a good space to be able to do his job over the next 4 months before we are able to replace him in 2025. But let's continue.
More lawmakers could soon join the chorus. Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries is planning to hold a meeting with Democratic leaders in the House this afternoon, sources tell ABC News. And ABC News has also learned Senator Mark Warner is working to get a group of Senate Democrats together to discuss whether Biden should step aside. Senator Tammy Baldwin from Battleground, Wisconsin, says she'll have lots of discussions with her colleagues when Congress reconvenes on Monday.
I'll be seeing and interacting with my colleagues. I'm sure we'll have lots of discussion.
But when George Stephanopoulos asked what Biden would do if top members of Congress asked him to step aside, the president was defiant.
Well, it's like, they're not going to do that.
You sure?
Well, yeah, I'm sure. Look, I mean, if the Lord Almighty came down and said, Joe, get out of the race, I'd get out of the race. The Lord Almighty's not coming down.
More donors are sounding the alarm after.
Listen, the best thing, in my opinion, because I got a couple different sentiments, and I'm going to be dropping that in my latest episodes on the Anton Daniels channel, the Anton Daniels Show. I'm very excited to tackle some of these really, really big issues that I think is more pertinent and that also should be discussed on this channel. But I believe that the play is to ultimately, hopefully, get him in a position to either A, put Kamala Harris at the top of the ticket, or B, then for them to hope that he wins so that ultimately Kamala Harris can take over at some point. All roads lead to them trying to advocate for Kamala Harris to be at the top of the ticket. Whether they finesse it and that he somehow, some way wins the president of the United States of America, which I don't see at all, and then she becomes president, or for ultimately them to advocate and for the groans to become so loud. And then we know that the Democratic National Convention over in Chicago is about to take place. For the groans to become so loud that ultimately he's forced to step down so that Kamala is the only viable candidate that could step up and then become the person that is campaigning against trying to win against Donald Trump. But the fact that he's defiant, the best thing for Republicans, or the best thing for people that are more conservative, that don't think that Democrats have done a good job inside of the White House or in this administration, or that they can even be able to compete when it comes to worldwide issues, problems, concerned about immigration into this country. The best thing for Republicans is for Biden to stay defiant and stay inside of the race. Because there's no way in hell, they'd have to really, really finesse and cheat in order for you to convince me that ultimately he is going to beat Donald Trump in a race. Absolutely not. I think that Kamala Harris is incompetent. She was listed at the border czar, and all of that. So, it just is what it is. I just think that it's a bad situation all the way around. It's a bad day to be a liberal. It's a bad day to be a Democrat. It's a bad day to be in Joe Biden's camp. And they've been running the White House incompetent, especially when it comes to immigration and inflation, which is the two main things that people are concerned about. They've been running the White House like a madhouse. And so the best thing that he can do is stay in the race for Republicans.
After that interview, mega donor Reed Hastings, the co-founder of Netflix, saying Biden is unfortunately in denial about his mental state. He needs to step aside to let a vigorous Democratic leader beat Trump.
They're trying to push me out of the race. Well, let me say this as clearly as I can. I'm staying in the race.
Even after Biden's fiery campaign rally in Wisconsin on Friday, not all voters there were convinced.
How would you say this rally changed or didn't change your perception of the president?
Well, I wouldn't say it changed my perception of the president. I mean, I think what happened last Thursday night was worrisome.
Thursday made me worry, and I think he's bounced back in this kind of setting. I want to see him in other settings.
The Biden campaign believes they can still turn things around by getting the president out on the trail more. He's making 2 campaign stops in Pennsylvania today, but many in the party are saying there's really not much the president can do to change his image. The damage, they say, is already done.
It is done, and they're going to lose. They're going to lose by a wide margin. And they're not just going to lose because he's incompetent and his ability to run the White House is on full display. They're not just going to lose based off of that. They're going to lose. They were going to lose anyway, in my opinion. I honestly believe that they had already lost control of the country. And there's no denying, even when you go back and look at the debate, let's just say we're not paying attention to the fact that he's not all the way there and he's going cuckoo, right? When you start to deep dive into the issues that's most pressing for Americans, he had no answer for. And Kamala Harris is even worse, and Trump said that, because she was supposed to be the border czar, and yet we let untold tens of millions of people into this country, and there's no answer for that. Sanctuary cities are falling. Everywhere is imploding that, wanted to defund the police. California is in shambles. They got a budget deficit of like $65 billion. Chicago is at a budget deficit. Denver is on fire. New York is absolutely cutting a bunch of money. California is also, and LA is building a $165 million luxury homeless camp, permanent housing. And everything is in shambles, and people can't afford to go to work no more. They can't afford a car. They can't afford the interest rates. They tried to fight inflation. Inflation is still high, and they still got interest rates above 7%. Even when it comes to housing, credit card debt is out of control. Come on, man, listen. It's bad. It's bad. They saying record unemployment, but it's still bad outside. And when you saying that we did good, but it's still bad, and so in a great economy, it's just absolutely in shambles. You know that it's something wrong. But I'm curious as to what you guys think. Let me know inside of the comments. Make sure you tap into the Patreon. Link is in the description as well as pinned to the top of the chat. Also, Teach Hanley, 40% off the first order plus 20% off for life. That link is in the description. I love you guys. I appreciate you. I can't wait to read y'all comments. Peace.